Halford Lukacs was a teacher at Yale Divinity School in 1928. And he wrote a book called Unfinished Business. And in that book, he tells the story of a person telling a story about Flagstaff, Maine. The resident, Flagstaff, Maine was a small town that where people lived, and the people were told, the residents of the town were told that their town was going to be flooded as part of a dam project. And so that in a few months or so, they were going to have to leave their homes, leave everything behind so that the town could just be wiped out. Well, when the people heard that their town was going to be consumed by water, they stopped doing anything to improve their homes. So even before they moved, their houses began to fall apart and deteriorate, and the paint peeled, the lawns died. They didn't do anything in the town to make it any better. So the dinner companion who was telling the story observed, what's the use of painting a house if it's going to be covered with water in 6 months? Why repair anything when the whole village is going to be wiped out? And then he said this poignant line, where there is no faith in the future, there is no power in the present. Where there is no faith in the future, there is no power in the present. You see, in order for today to have meaning and power in your life, you have to believe that what happens today is moving you toward a future that you have envisioned. You have to have something to work for, a vision, a future. So if you're motivated by this expectations of success and reward, and you believe that you're going to get a promotion in the future, then you're going to act today in ways that are going to move you toward that future of a promotion. You're going to begin working hard. You're going to be showing that you've got leadership skills. You're going to have work with good communication, show good people skills, things that are going to move you to that promotion. How many of you parents at Christmas time have told your kids that Santa Claus knows who's naughty and who's nice? And with this expectation of gifts as their future, their behavior suddenly becomes very different today, or at least in that moment. Because they know that what they're doing is going to affect the outcome of those presents. Or a high school student that wants to get into some kind of exclusive college knows that now they need to join the kind of clubs that that school is looking for, take the kind of classes that that school is looking for, achieve the grades that are required to get into that school. Where there is no faith in the future, there is no power in the present. So if you don't have faith in the future, then this present really doesn't have really a power to motivate you. If you live with kind of thoughts that say, well, it doesn't matter what I do anyway, nothing's going to change, or it's never going to happen for me, so why even bother? If that's your future, then the chances are pretty good that you are not going to do anything in the present to change what you perceive as a no future. There's a very good chance that you're going to put little effort into making different choices or behaving differently. If you see your job as a dead-end job and you don't have any other vision for the future, then you don't have any motivation to do more than the minimum to get by. You have to have a future vision in order to make your behavior today mean something and matter. The problem is that there are also those times when we do have plans for a future and we work for that future and it doesn't come about as we had hoped that it would. The college that we hope to attend doesn't accept us. Or the market goes bad and the retirement that you planned for isn't going to work that way. Or the spouse that we vowed to love forever and that we would never leave doesn't work out that way. and one or both of you want out of the marriage. We find ourselves in those times wondering what happened. How can it be that this future that we work so hard toward is not panning out? Isn't the future that exists for us? We hoped. We had hoped. 2 followers of Jesus have left Jerusalem and they're walking to another village outside of Jerusalem, and they're trying to rethink their future. Because they had planned on a future with Jesus. This Jesus of Nazareth was going to be the one that was going to redeem Israel, the one that was going to bring back glory to Israel, the one that was going to do something different. He had talked about this kingdom of God, and they were looking forward to that kingdom, and he was talking to them about what that kingdom was going to be like, and they liked what it was, and they wanted that to happen, and so they were backing him. And as they're walking along, a stranger joins them and asks what they're talking about, and so they tell them about this vision that they had had and that he'd been put to death. And so they said, we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. We had hoped. But without that vision, why stay in Jerusalem? Without that hope of the future, then they head back to where their lives had been. They're walking back to the past and wondering what kind of new vision, what new future might possibly lie for them there. And I just can't help but think how true that is for so many of us. That we're just like those disciples, that so many times we find ourselves on our roads to Emmaus, that we struggle with our burdens, that we try and process events of our lives that haven't worked out the way that we wanted, and we just want to make some sense out of it all because what we had hoped for isn't where we seem to be going. And so we talk and we process. And it's at that time in our journey, those moments in our disappointment or our anger, that it's difficult for us to see the risen Christ walking with us. It's difficult to see the people that we encounter on our way back to where we were, that we don't see that God is with us and that God has come to be with us. It's like those 2 travelers that we might, or it's at those times that we might only see a gardener through our tears like Mary did. Or we might be trying to just go somewhere different like these 2 travelers were. The thing in this story is that however life comes at us, whether we are working toward our hopes and they're not happening, whether we're in our standby moments because we don't have hope, that when we don't see the risen Christ, even when we don't see the risen Christ, he's always with us, always walking with us, always trying to show in ways that he is present and with us, and that we only need to realize and acknowledge that that voice speaking to us is in fact the voice of the one in whom we had placed our hope. Jesus walks with us and listens to us as we vent the dramas of our life, as we vent the problems that we have, as we do everything that we can to figure out what's going on, and then tries to gently guide us the rest of the way. We don't even realize that he's there most of the time. We don't see how he's always trying to open up our hearts to see his presence. We're just walking our lives of faith from glimpse to glimpse of our hopes. We had hoped. Sometimes that's even true for groups, not just individuals, but that a congregation might experience turmoil, or a nation might experience fear or frustrations. As we walk together, we talk, how could this have happened? How could a plane hit a building? How could our economy tank? How could our pastor have left us? We thought it would be more simple. We thought that life would be more clear. We thought that our values and our priorities would be evident so that things like this wouldn't happen. People wouldn't attack us. Fear wouldn't drive the stock market. There should be agreement. There should be resources. We thought God would always protect us. We thought God would lead us more directly. We thought that if we were people of faith, that our doubts and our conflicts and our confusions wouldn't be as deep as everybody else's. We had hoped. We had hoped that our future would be uncomplicated. We had hoped that our lives wouldn't be so messy. We had hoped that we could keep on the road that we were going and not have to change roads. We had hoped that our old ways would still work. We had hoped. We had hoped. The future continues to challenge us in different ways. The good news is that Jesus walks with us and listens and challenges us. Jesus recognizes how hard it is for us to trust sometimes, but Jesus is always there asking us, have I not promised from the beginning to be with you, to sustain you, and to continually reveal my plans to you, to hearts that are open? Had I not promised you more than you can ask, more than you can imagine? Can we have faith in an unknown future? And can that still have power in our present? Can we allow our future to be uncertain and yet still have power in the present to say what we had hoped for is how we will behave today, even when we aren't sure that that's what will be? Can we sustain hope now with our behaviors when we're not sure what direction we're going? When these two travelers invited Jesus to come with them and invite him in, Jesus helps them to notice and to celebrate and to be part of that ongoing revelation that Christ is risen indeed, that this unknown future, in fact, is realized even when our eyes don't see it. The same way that Jesus comes to these travelers are manifest in our midst every week. Every week we break bread together to say that our risen Christ is in, with, and through this meal to reveal to us the promises that are true, to be the risen Christ that we take in, literally, into our bodies, into our lives, to say that now I live with this risen Christ today. It's a promise of every day, that the mystery is at work among us. When we eat and drink together and we remember that this unknown future is, in fact, the future, we go from saying we had hoped to saying we have hope. We have hope that when it doesn't look the way we think it is, that Christ is walking with us. We have hope when there are things that we don't like going on around us, that Christ is working in, with, and through us to keep us going on the path in Jerusalem. We have hope that even when we can't see God working for our future, that God has something even greater in store for us than what we ourselves could possibly imagine or hope for. We have hope. have hope. Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Amen.